Spero che l'interpretariato funzioni.
I hope the translation works. Give me a sign if it works.
Perfetto. Allora,
Okay.
buona giornata a tutti. Grazie per
Good morning,
la partecipazione.
everyone, and thank you for your participation.
Cercherò di fare un piccolo inquadramento ai temi.
I'm going to try and focus on the issues we are going to see today and which are the phases that we are going to face during the next weeks and also months of the activity. I hope everyone is in health and also with a positive attitude for an action that is efficient and functional of the project. Today, we have some points to face. The meeting is going to face the presentation of the last participatory model, about the discussion of the first step of the model, and also on a steering action that we approved during the last weeks. And this will also affect all partners and also partners that are not active in the same action, so Italy and Bulgaria. And this action will also cause a positive action of dialogue overall. The meeting of today, we hope that is going to mark and is going to be a turning point, because this is a moment that affected us because of the social distancing, because as we know, there's the pandemic. This, as I said, it is a turning point because we had to use online meeting, and of course this is efficient, but we also would like to underline some present moments because this is important, is essential in order to be fully in a situation that we are facing and we are discussing. You already know that the new version of the activity program has been shared by Interreg Europe, and we are trying to go on with the times of the activity, and we are waiting for a double speed approbation. There is Germany that is going to close with a timeline that is more near, and we are also going to include the steering meeting and the steering action. We are going to discuss it after we propose the method. We have just known news or the WHO individuated dialogue as a study and also a tool that could be innovative. And this could also be a part of ACOCT, that could also raise the social dialogue and political decision that lead to important tools. And this is something that we have to thank the partners and also all the affected ones that participated in a positive way and were aware of their actions in their local territories. We are going to present something that you already know, that you already received through mail. So Many parts of the funder have already talked about what they think about it. This is also an important step of the project, the definition of an hypothesis of a participatory method. It's not just a model, it's a tool for working that is fueled by a positive action. And this is also fueled by the contributions of the surveys of the single partners, result of field surveys. And this has also been thought by the scientific literature and methodological. This framework should give us some clear tools, and with the guidelines that we are going to share in some months, this will be the basis for guaranteeing each partner the definition of everyone with their territories and with their tools and the political intervention. This is every contribution. So this is an important tool, and it must be open because the political tools are different. They are flexible, but they are going to influence us. Talking about the profiles and an attitude that has to be correct on a methodological point of view and also effective. The model we are going to present today will be approved on the 14th of October. That, as you know, it's going to take place the steering committee of this meeting, dialogue, and this meeting is going to focus on the approval of this model, and it's a definitive session. So in the meantime, we are going to discuss, we are going to modify, draft everything necessary. We are going to discuss the dates and the contents of the field surveys. And in spring of next year, we are going to take these elements. Let's hope we can meet. And we are also going to share the framework of reference of the issues of the meetings that are going to be important during the single activities that are organized with partners and their own stakeholders. It's an important action, but I would say we should focus not only on the activities, but also on the contents of this framework. And it will be presented by the scientific committee and will be precise and effective with a PowerPoint and slides that are short but full of contents. There's also a document that will be presented, and this will be a product that is going to be shared on a secretary level and also to other potential interested partners. In some weeks, we are going to host in Trento the Bulgarian peers, and we are also going to start the steering action. And we are going to let you know and inform you every step of the way. And also, we are going to inform you about the results of the steering action, because we are going to provide the advantages. So the presentation of the model and also debating about this model. The technicians at the assistants and the scientific part has the skills of producing and presenting the model. And at the meantime, if a participant has some proposal or questions about the program of this morning or about other contents. Of course, I would like to thank the interpreters that are working for us. They are students of the institution, the University of Interpreters and Translators, that help us do some stages. But as you know, they are exercising, that they also have qualities, they also know what they do. Do you have any questions or suggestions? Meantime, Molteni is sharing her screen. Otherwise, we could begin with Lorella and her presentation of the model. Thank you. I would like to ask you, do you see the slides? Good morning, everyone. I'm Lorella Molteni, and I'm part of the scientific committee that supported the province of Trento for the documentation that you have received recently. So it is a model of on participatory process and methods. And this is a view that has already been done by Luciano Galetti about the steps of the project that led us to the elaboration of the model. During the first phase, every partner has identified some projects and politics that are considered good practices about the activation of the participatory processes, and they have been analyzed on the basis of some criteria that were shared and common. And this was the first hypothesis of the participatory process model. And these have been shared and discussed through some meeting. And the results have been shown on the first report of benchmarking, and then there have been field surveys. One was to the board members of the dialogue project, and the others to the stakeholders that are going to contribute on the action plans for the next phase. These groups of activity led us to the perfection of the tools and the model that we shared on the first report of benchmarking. And we also individuate some principles and key concepts of the activity that they are on a theoretical profile. As also Galetti said, they give a frame of reference. I would like to say that Dialogue project shows not only the elaboration of the project, but also the guidelines. What is the difference between the model and the guidelines? The guidelines are used to give the tools for the partners, so how the tools and the concept can be applied during the action plans action. And then we are also going to focus on the action plans, because we also received some precise questions that the founder asked us. So the model that we decided to do has four key elements. The first one is the conceptual background of the project dialogue. I won't talk about it much because we already defined it in benchmarking. The participation rationales, as also in literature has been said, and they were results of the surveys that the partners did. The participation spectrum that we already knew in the first report of benchmarking, and it has been adapted thanks to the suggestions that we saw during the surveys, and also suggestions by our partner of Fiander and the stakeholders inquire. And these are the four key elements. I would like to say that the inquirers gave also better suggestions that are going to be talked about it again during the guidelines. There are different phases of the design implementation project. During this one, the participatory process can be activated. And we also talk about the monitoring and assessment of how the participatory process is going to be applied. And so we can introduce some correction so that is more efficient. These aspects are going to be revised during the actuation of the guidelines. And a first version has been presented during another meeting. So I won't talk about the conceptual background and also the assumption of the dialogue project, because we already know and share those values. The principles that helped and engine the dialogue project are the involvement of stakeholders and for the social innovation and their projects have a positive impact on the development and the implementation of those projects, because on the one hand, they contribute to enhance the social cohesion, because they can give us skills and resources of different subjects, and they also contribute to the introduction of a new possible solution to social problems that politics tries to overcome. Another step of the dialogue project is that the involvement of the stakeholders is a process. Sorry, I would like to say the role of stakeholders is not a passive role, but it should be more active. Stakeholders should be active during the process. Otherwise, the term social dialogue indicates a two-way flow. So there are some risks that can be inside the project of the participatory process and models. So the model that we proposed suggests that we should focus and pay attention to tools for overcoming. The first one is social dialogue implies a potential complex in decision making, and it is complex, and we should lead it in some way. And another way is the importance of the contribution of the stakeholders that they contribute to the process and also to the design and the implementation of the politics. This is a role that not every time stakeholders know they have. They don't know the role that they can play during the participatory process, nor the skills that they can contribute with. On the other hand, another aspect that we already underlined in different surveys of dialogue is that many times the participatory process can be affected by the non-involvement of some groups of population, such as the fragile ones of the population, and many times they don't have enough representation. So with the design of our model and then with the guidelines, we are going to focus and understand how these risks can be overcome. Talking about the participation rationales, we also asked ourselves, thanks to the scientific literatures, which could be the logics and the thoughts that activate the participatory process. And in particularly, we focused on a study that has been taken over a universitarian researcher of Pisa, identifies 4 points. There are not just these 4, and because they can also be combined, they can be one and another, they share the same values of politics. The first one is instrumental and also the legalistic one. They are logical and they are in a formal plan. They are instrumental. They believe that the tools play an important role in order to legitimate the political decisions and also enhancing the results. However, this does not discuss or question the values that politics give. And the point where we can trade and the other aspects of the political decision can be, we could say, shared. The legalistic one considers the participation of participatory processes only when and because it is required, and this is needed for the legalistic part. As we know, the European tools focus on the activation of participatory process. So often, institutions, in order to participate to this normative part, they start participatory processes, but they don't give them enough attention. The substantive and the normative are more part of the active action, active meaning of the dialogue project that gives to participation. During the substantive one, we believe that the debate between perspective, views, solutions, and points of view could help experts enhancing the solution to social problems. And the normative one believes that the democratical participation has the basis, the political decisions. And here we talk about a theoretical level, because we have to understand that the institutional point of view, the activation of participatory processes can have different meanings. And these meanings must be considered during the designing of the participatory processes. The surveys show that all stakeholders, also the administration board, believe that it is useful to activate the collaboration of many stakeholders in some fields that affect all the living daily lives of people, so the work-related economic, social, and environmental issues. And here, the decisions that are taken on a political level have an impact on people's daily lives. So the survey affirms that there are many benefits from the activation of participatory processes, such as improving the quality of decision-making and implementation processes, improving the exchange and co-creation of knowledge, improving the legitimacy of decisions, and also reducing the social conflicts that can be determined by the non-sharing of the decisions, and also improving the effectiveness of policy responses by social problems. So this is the theoretical frame. And also many surveys suggested us, in particularly by the survey of the partner of the FIANDR. In literature, we have a big attention to the participation as a tool for enhancing the effectiveness of politics. There's not an only approach that can be used as a, let's say, recipe in order to activate more or less effective processes. So there's an approach. The model that we propose is an approach that can suggest those, depending on the context, on the goals, on the political goals, these strategies should be the best strategies in order to activate participatory processes, and they focus around a question. And the question is, how much potential influence on the decision or action am I willing to provide to the stakeholders public? The answer led to a model, and we defined it as the spectrum of participation. And its pillars are the impact and the influence that stakeholders can have on the political decision and on the ways of implementation of those politics in this continuum. And we already knew during the first report of benchmarking. And we also had this a big contribution to the partner of the FIANDR. And the International Association for Public Participation is important because it is a non-profitable association that proposed this model in order to help not only the public administration, but also the private administration in order to focus the participatory process in a better way. As you can see, there are two news. The first one is the introduction of the empowerment as the last level of the model. At the beginning, on the basis of the good practices that we already presented, we thought about a model with 4 levels of involvement, from the lowest one, inform, to the one in which the stakeholder level was maximum, also collaborate. As the partner of Flanders said, there is another level, so the empowerment, in which the public administration and the politic administration delegates the power to other subjects, to stakeholders that can be of different nature. Another news that we proposed at the beginning is the proposal of different involvement. The first one is the one of the goals of the public participation, so which aims the politic wants to satisfy through the activation of participatory processes. And the second one is the promise to the public, to the stakeholders. Every public implies the promise of every stakeholder in influencing the political decisions. And this should be more clear during the design and the communication of the stakeholders of the project. I won't talk about these levels.
Dell'empowerment che tendenzialmente non viene utilizzato moltissimo perché
So this new element of the empowerment is not used a lot in the policy, because we have other example from France and Italy. We have some example of participation elements that are limited, as the public administration has difficulty to give the decisional power to a third party. So we presented this pyramid of involvement in order to underline that in the lower levels of participation, so the inform and consult levels, in this level we can reach a wider audience. We can reach a wider audience of stakeholders, as the involvement of this is lower, while in the higher level, the time that we have to give to the management of the processes, both the grade of power on decision and of responsibilities on other people's, is higher. So with respect to the tools and the techniques we can use in these participatory processes, these concepts were underlined once again by the benchmarking report, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I would like to underline that obviously the decision on which tools or techniques must be used is connected to the goals we want to achieve thanks to the participatory process. We completed this scheme that we already proposed in the first report of benchmarking. We did have other techniques, and we added them in the higher participation model, which is the empowerment. On these strategies and techniques, we will pay more attention in the guidelines that will make us understand on how in each level of involvement they can be used. The last aspect we consider and comes from the chief elements that we use to analyze the good practices presented by the different partners in the first phase is the involvement of stakeholders. The stakeholder can be of different nature, so it can be public institutions of different elements, so universities, schools, a local institution or other agency. Organized groups, we've seen in the good practices that trade unions or trade association are a lot present as stakeholders in this. But we can also have groups or association, a local association of any kind, so an organized association or both no profit or profit. The unorganized groups are one of these, and we can go to the community in its whole. So also in this case, we cannot have a receipt upon which we can contribute on which modalities of selection of I rephrase, which stakeholders can be involved in one process or the other. It depends on the goals of the administration and also on the kind of process we want to achieve. The service that we have in the Dialog project, on one hand, we give more importance to the social capital. On the other hand, we give also give more importance to the economical one or the human one. There are lots of techniques that we are going to talk about later in the guidelines that we discussed later, as I said, in a few months ahead. These guidelines can help the administration on the choice of the stakeholders that can be involved. These are the 4 chief points that we presented. I don't know if we want to go on with a discussion upon these topics, or whether we can start about the consideration that Flanders sent us. If you agree, we are going to ask to everyone, and when we come to Flanders, we'll discuss about the suggestion that they gave us also by mail. So we'll hear everyone and their thought and their opinion, some kind of suggestions, some requests or of more details. You can talk when you want. We'll hear everyone so that the process of condivision of decision can be the most complete possible. So when we come to Flanders, we will hear their observation. the first observations, I can say something. The model seems to be a realistic one, a shared one, and one that can be applied. It's wide and gives space to the operativeness of any policy. And this is at the base of the involvement of the actors, such as stakeholders at local level or national level. So we think that this is a tool that can be implemented in different elements that we considered, both on our political levels, but also on a generality of a political level where the decision must be shared.
I have a question. Yeah. In my report, I also mentioned like the model represented now is like a very straightforward. It's based on the participation ladder, but there are also other stakeholders of Flanders. They use different models like iterative processes. Do you consider writing about that too? The possibility of other models? Hello? Did you hear my question? Yeah.
We saw it, but we didn't manage to find any kind of documents in English to analyze because it was written in the original language.
Do you want me to look for it in English?
Ok.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
If I can say something, I talk in Italian so that it can be translated into English. We represented in the model in Swiss. The model that was developed is really interesting and useful in order to place ourselves in the different level and understand with the activities that we carry on in the enterprises that has always been talked about in dialogue, where we can find ourselves and where we can go, because we see that the empowerment level, which is the highest level and the most important one, we can understand where we are, and we find ourselves to have a guide to go on the other level. And I think that I find it really useful. We have lots of possibility to use in order to achieve the goals. So I think that talking about our situation and what are our best practice, we find it really useful and can be used every technique. So it's interesting to find it under one structure and to give some order. Thank you. Some partners or stakeholders want to say something.
Hi, I am Maya from Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Vratsa, Bulgaria. I have one question only. On page 10, is written that there will be a guidelines for a model of participatory methods with appendix of tools and others. When it will be, how to say it, ready, or how the aim of it, how will you use it after that for us?
Allora, una prima versione delle linee
A first
guida
version of the guidelines we shared in a previous meeting, but it would be adapted on the basis of the suggestion that were carried out in the survey that we carried out. There could be the implementation of the guidelines, and I think Luca Bassetti will agree that it will be on the 28th of January of 2022. But I think that we can reach this result before. We have to understand the suggestion from the surveys and then amplify the document that we wrote. The guidelines differentiate each other from the document that we presented today because they give a concrete instrument on the processes and the tools that can be used to activate the participatory processes. I would like to underline that this must be put into practice in the next phase of the dialogue project. So every partner must choose a project, an action, or a policy in which to activate a participatory process using these tools that we are giving. Do you understand? It can also be a limited action. The sense of this thing is that we carried out a work of confrontation and of sharing of what we can see or what exists, of what we till now used to involve different groups of stakeholders. Now that we elaborate this model and these guidelines, we can see how we can improve our approach towards the stakeholders and engagement, and so how we can put into practice policies that can value in a better way the different stakeholders.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask something? In order to understand if I understood right. The participatory spectrum, so the different modalities, can be mixed with one another according to the phase of the project. So in a first phase, I can have some kind of involvement, when I go up with the level, I can change the participatory model. Yes, definitely, yes. Because when we understand better in the guidelines, we have a process, a public policy, so a project that presents different phases. So the process of participation can be used in the same way in different phases. So I can create and design a project alone and then create a participatory process when I use it. Or I can use some participatory process only in the part of monitoring and valuing on how the project is going. So we don't have rules. We have different aspects that everyone can use and mix according to which goals they have. So it's just an instrument box where I can take the right tools and the most effective one according to the right phase where I find myself. Exactly. And according to also the goal you have. Thank you.
I have a question on the action plans. Yeah. Is it possible, like instead of putting our views on the practice, because I've done all these surveys and interviews, and what I've written in the report to Italy, to the lead partner, is just a small part of my findings. Whether for the action plan for Flanders, I could enlarge it together with our stakeholders to become more of a substance. Yeah, I wonder whether, yeah, this is more a bit theoretical, although there is some interaction with our stakeholders, whether this is possible as an action plan.
Provo a rispondere io, se Lorella.
I try to answer it. The action plan is a tool of improvement of a process. So the action plan must regard to a decision process, and this decision process must be destined to improve a political instrument of intervention. You underlined when you design the initial programmation, an instrument, a political instrument. This is one of the field where we can value the used instrumentation. Other political field of intervention can be used. The based one is was the programmation of the programmation, so the European fund. Underlying the instrument of the social funds of Europe, using this action plan, means to use the guidelines and the model to reach a programmation of the European Social Fund that can be more where more involved people are present. It must not be only a theoretical exercise. It must result in an exercise and also a concrete implementation. It can regard the concrete implementation of the FOST program, or it can regard the implementation of a monitoring process or a valuing process, or a valuing or analysis of the impact. It does not matter, but the action plan must contain all the action that are going to be put in practice to improve the involvement of the citizens or the economical part, the different level, in order to make your political instrument more efficient, more shared. So it is not only a theoretical exercise, but it must be an exercise that must find a concrete implementation in the field.
Yes, I understand. So besides, yeah, it's not only theoretical, because we add in practical examples, but we are already sharing this with our
think we have lost Smet.
Improve their actions. So it's like indirectly that other people actions will improve.
Sorry, Rinde, we lost you. We don't have a good internet connection with you.
Sorry, my connection was gone.
Gerline, can you repeat your question?
Yeah,
Or-
so there are going to be actions, but they will become indirectly because we are going to involve all our stakeholders and present like our findings and create workshops so they can improve their own actions. So there is a practical side to it. Also, the Flemish government funded a competence center, and we are already sharing our knowledge with this competence center out of the dialogue project. So our main actions will be indirectly, but there will be actions. It's sort of improvement of the service and the political decision making, but through our other partners.
Sì, naturalmente il processo.
Yes, obviously, the process can affect differently according to the motivation of the political instrument that can be shared by different actors. The actors of that manage the funds, with the European Union. We can give some suggestion, also different improvement strategies that can better the process and the results.
So it would be okay this way. Ah, great. Thank you.
Victor, dai.
Victor, you have the stage.
Non nasconderti.
Don't hide.
I don't know. I like to make a comment on the Erlinda's contribution. As far as I see, to have that last stage of the participatory process, I mean, to empower the people or the groups or the agents that participate in a process like that, there must be an intention behind. I mean, I think that is not possible if the public power doesn't want to arrive to that point.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference, because in the rest of the situations, the public powers can, let's say, can draw a process, and maybe they will arrive or not to the level of participation they try to arrive. But in that situation, I think to make it possible, there must be a push and there must be a will by the administration behind. Otherwise, I think it's not possible.
Yeah, it's true, and also a strong will among the people who want to challenge the government. But there are examples.
Yeah.
Like I don't know whether you heard of the movement Right to Challenge.
No, I didn't hear about.
And it comes from the UK and Holland. And it's about how to determine how the public space will be. And so there is like a collaboration between the government and the participants, the people, the citizens, that they take over part of the duties of a government. Like it could be like a green public space where normally the government would provide all the service like cutting the trees or thing, and that the public takes over. So they get funding from the public authority, but the public authority doesn't need to give the personnel. So it's like they have to give less, they have less costs, and citizens are happy because they can take this into their own hands. So as you said it right, the public authority has to agree with this, but it's sort of coming more and more into the public eye, this right to challenge. If you want, I can send you the link.
Yeah.
Shall I put it in the chat?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Se posso intervenire, I due
If I can say something, the two partners that took the floor, both the Flanders and also the one of Castilla-La Mancha, they have a political instrument that underlined the European Social Fund. In this programmation and the new rules of the structural funds, there must be a supervision committee. In Italian, it's called so, but somehow a committee that accompanies. So the most important processes of the programmation and the reprogrammation, the analysis, the valuing, the monitoring, the approbation related to the European Social Fund, like every other structural fund, must be also in the consensus of this committee, where they must, it is legally, they must find place the economical parts, economical and social parts. So in this context, in this place, in this opportunity, occasion, if one economical social part does not agree with what is shared with the public authorities, the programmation process is interrupted. So it's not necessary in a lot of cases to put the public administration in the place to give a part of the decisionary power, but because as part of the structural funds, the decisional power on different aspects that regards to the birth, the development and the implementation of these elements are of the other institution, of involvement process of the public elements. What is important is to have some social parts that can relate with the public power. And in this case, some empowerment actions, so the acknowledgement of knowledge to reach some decision can rise. So there is no need of revolution. We do not need a revolution. With your political instrument, the participation is already in the logic of the investment and the management of funds. And this is because of communitary law.
Yeah, I can add to this. In Flanders, we also have like a law on flexible government, it's called. And it allows this participation from the stakeholders. So some departments are really putting it into action, like the departments busy with the local governments like cities and small communities, but other departments are a bit afraid of using that law. It depends a bit on the political aspirations of the political party, of the minister responsible for the department. But it's definitely something that is enlarging in Flanders. It's a hot topic.
Altri eventuali interventi?
Someone want to say something? Otherwise, if anyone wants to say something on this topic, we can...
My second question, excuse me, again to the scientific committee, because here in annex is written that there is a brief introduction of the main characteristic of the action plan. So the question is that in the model, in your model, for each partner before a report of survey, there is a brief introduction. When we can discuss this exactly with each partner. So, for example, CCI Brazzo with the scientific committee.
Allora, nei prossimi giorni.
In next few days and weeks, you'll have the opportunity to send both written contribution, suggestion, something that you want to underline, something you want to modify, of important, specific, or general, so that in order that in the next union, so the 14th of October, the new models, which is modified, underlined from all of you, can be shared. So today, the model is shared, is formally shared, but the new model must be renewed, of course. In these 20 days, you can give every contribution of your presentation, or other elements that you find important or must be modified, corrected? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Ok. Bene.
Scusate, io ho una domanda finale.
All'ordine del giorno... Ah, scusa.
Sorry, I have a last question about the action plan. Are we going to have a standard? Do we have to present it in a written way, or everybody presents its own action plan? Which ways? The observation of the model are free. You can do some drafts, observations. You can underline the parts that you don't share. You can do a text revise, everything you would like. I wasn't talking about this text, but when we are going to apply the action plans, we will have a summary that I imagine we are going to present. This summary is going to be a standard one you presented? Yes, of course. Also because the evaluation products must be compared, and this, of course, must have a standardization of the final report. The action plan will also have a basic structure, and we are going to debate about it in January. And this is because we can share it easier, and the final result must be shareable. Thank you. Thank you.
I have another question about the model.
Ho un'altra domanda
Sì.
riguardo al modello.
I have sent our comments.
Ho già mandato i nostri commenti.
Suggest we don't talk about it today.
E secondo me non dobbiamo per forza parlarne oggi.
If you have questions about it,
ma se avete domande
then you
a
can
riguardo,
contact me. If things are not understandable, is that okay?
Così che possiamo capirci meglio, va bene?
Certo, verrà preso in considerazione.
Yes, of course we are going to consider it.
Yeah.
Abbiamo adesso un piccolo spazio previsto in ordine del giorno per presentare.
So now we have a small spot for today for presenting the steering action.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I have another question.
Andiamo con un'altra domanda.
So since we are about to leave the partnership for the further actions, we are already. I'm sorry, the dolmetsching is the interpreter is hearable for me.
Yeah.
Spero che l'interprete possa sentire.
Yeah, so since we are already drafting our action plan, I would like
Visto
to
che
know
stiamo già
how
facendo una bozza del
could you
piano
please?
d'azione.
I mean, on the English channel, we can hear the interpreter. It's very disturbing.
The Italian, we can hear the Italian voice. We can hear on the English channel the Italian interpretation.
Sì.
E deve andare nella stanza italiana.
E lei sente? Lei può andare nella stanza italiana. Valeria, vai nella stanza italiana, altrimenti c'è una doppia voce nell'inglese. We try again, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so since we have already drafted our action plan, I'm afraid it will differ a little bit from what you are planning to do, or the model that you want us to use for the action plan. So how are we going to go about that? And also, I don't know if the action plan that we are going to hand in is going to be discussed by the partnership, because we are already in the final stages of drafting the action plan.
Il piano d'azione della Germania.
The action plan of Germany during this phase, before applying it, they have to discuss it with the Secretariat. So you are going to share it with all partners, and with the representative, you have to send it to the Secretariat. And so the Secretariat is able to give you feedback. This because the activities of Germany are going to be faced in January 2022. It's not the same way for the other partners because they will have more time to discuss the guidelines and the models. Your your action plan, if it is already ready, you can share it to all partners. You can also send it to other partners and Secretariat, and then you have to inform us.
Okay, thank you.
Bene, e scusate,
Well, so program Social D, the steering program. I would like to ask Maya the presentation of the important structure and also the goals and the activities that has already been carried out in Bulgaria. Thank you, Maya. Go.
Thank you. So, you know about that we had applied with the lead partner for pilot action. And we are very glad that in June this year, the pilot action had been approved. The pilot action, the name of pilot action is Social D, and it transfer and test the Trentino digital platform for an open and social dialogue in the Bulgarian context. So during our meetings and during the peer review of Italy, we chose the good practice for Bulgaria to be the most appropriate of Federatia Trentino. So the pilot action, our common pilot action, will focus on testing the implementation of this co-design process adopted on this welfare cooperative platform. And what we had done for this 1 month. First, the team of Chamber of Commerce and Industry, together with our partners, made identification of stakeholders here on regional level for Wrocław. So now we have a database with stakeholders such as public bodies, health providers, social services providers, SMEs, entrepreneurs, etc. After that, we continue with the selection of key elements which should be tested and transferred to us. So together with Federation, we make analysis which patterns between social services and health, public health in Trentino are most relevant to our situation in Bulgaria, in Wrocław. After that, we continue with open consultation and receiving feedback. On 30th of July, we had make a meeting, hybrid meeting, online and face-to-face here in Wrocław with identified stakeholders. And we received their feedback about the pilot action, the next activities and results which we obtained at the end of the pilot action. And I am very glad that on these meetings with stakeholders, we put on one table the main representatives of social provider services, public bodies, and health care here in District Brat. After that, at the end of the month, we managed to make the design, the draft of matrix of welfare systematic draft, how to say it. Now it is in Bulgarian, but next week we will translate it in English. So we can send it to US partners to review it and to add any comment. What we will do in next month, now we are preparing our delegation, which will visit Trento, and there will be representatives, I hope, from public bodies, from social services, and welfare. So, Francesca, if you want, you can say about the program in Italy.
Ah, okay, okay.
What we had done.
No, okay, but we are organizing this study visit in collaboration, of course, with the Federazione. The study visit will be at the end of October and will last 3 days. We are thinking to have a discussion about the model of the Federazione, this network, this welfare platform, and we will have also a peer review with Trentino stakeholder and Bulgarian stakeholder. This is quite important for the purpose of the visit. Of course, we will visit cooperatives, social cooperatives in Trentino, some realities that use the platform, or cooperatives that are going to use in the future this platform and deal with it. That's all from us, from this study visit.
Elena Badeansky, che rappresenta...
Elena Badeansky, who represents added partner, so the cooperation of Trentino. Would you like to add any other information about the program?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say that we are really pleased and honored to take part in this project and for being selected as for the pilot action. We are very happy to host the visit of Bulgarian partners. We are also sorry that we cannot host you all. It would be more interesting to discuss with you all, but it is not possible in this period. I can update you about the program because I've just defined some details yesterday actually with my colleague, and yeah, we will be happy to explain you, to show you this platform, how it was described in the best practice, but also how it is now, because of course in 1 year this platform growed a lot and integrated different kind of services and also of different kind of stakeholders. So our idea will be to show you also how the evolution and interaction with the stakeholders change in 1 year, and we would be happy to show you 2 different kind of models of aggregation, and one will be also about renewable energy and the collective purchasing of energy, but with different consequences on the social environment. So yeah, we decided to show you 2 kind of different experiences, one about social, but also let's say social fields, in the social field and services, and one in other kind of activities that will have an indirect impact on the social services. If I gave you the name, they say nothing to you, but I just wanted to tell you about the topics they are going to visit. So yeah, will not be only a visit to a social cooperative and some other surprises that we cannot tell you now, only after. We'll keep you posted about this. I don't have any kind of the details about this.
Thank you.
Grazie della presentazione e dell'integrazione.
Thank you for the presentation and the integration. Of course, it will be our duty, but also our honor, inform the whole partnership of the evolution of Social D and the possible updates that we are going to carry out, the condivision and sharing processes that are going to be applied, and also some products. And this is something that is related to Interreg Europe, because the best actions that we obtained thanks to the pilot actions can also be valorized and applied by the whole partnership. And so our job during the visit in Trento for next spring, our job for the partners that are going to face the opportunity of knowing and developing a better acknowledgement of the word here, let's say in Trento, and also a possible comment of the pilot action that will be developed during that period. And of course, maybe we'll also obtain positive results by that time. Do we have answers, questions, comments?
My question about activity 2 of the semester now, the 5th semester, about this workshop, regional workshop. So how will you organize them? It's a written regional workshop, so in each partner, and the duration is since that month in September till December. So how will you organize them? Shall partners have, how to say it,
if
participate or not?
No.
No, if I may, if I can add something, next meeting will be a steering meeting.
Sarà
a steering meeting, so steering committee meeting, sorry. And stakeholders are not involved in that.
Okay.
And about the workshop that all partners should carry out this autumn, we are going to discuss it next steering committee meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
Linde for okay.
Yeah. When will be the next time that we see each other in life?
Allora, noi ci troveremo, come anticipava Francesca, il 14.
Francesca already told you, on the 14th of October, we are going to meet online, and this will be a steering committee. The issues of the meeting will be the application of the model that we just presented today, and the contents of the meeting of this spring, and also the possible framework of the workshop of the territory that we are going to share. So steering committee, 14th of October, web meeting. There are 3 objects: model to approve, visit that we have to program, and framework of a territorial workshop.
No, no, that
Okay.
wasn't my
Erlinde, yes,
question
Erlinde,
actually.
yes.
Yeah.
I can add something. During the spring, we are going to have these study visits in different partner region, and we have to discuss it next steering committee meeting, and they will be physical meetings.
So all the partners.
All the partners, of course,
Yeah.
during the spring, from
Yeah.
February until May, and we have to discuss in which country, when, and so on. So maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We will
thank
make
you.
a proposal next steering committee meeting.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
my question.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Ok. Allora, se non ci sono altre richieste di chiarimento.
Well, if anybody has questions, do you have any question? Otherwise, I would like to thank you for your participation. I hope this meeting was important, was useful. I'm waiting for your consultation, suggestions. We are going to send you the information for the steering committee, and I hope you will send us your conditions, your informations, because we are going to define the dates and the visits. But if you already had in mind your content of this visit, this could be an important time for informing each other. Well, I would like to wish you good luck and have a good day. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you to the young
Yeah.
translators also.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.